Welcome to this interview with local legend and triathlon coach Rick Hellard. Now, this interview is pretty cool. It was taken on site in Rick's house, so I highly recommend that you go over to the YouTube channel to catch this one live because at the end, we dive right into his box of trophies. And so you can see a lot of stuff and it's pretty dang cool. So make sure you watch it on YouTube. Hey gang, Sylvie Dow here from Dow Training Systems and the interview cycling series Secrets from the Saddle, and I'm super excited to be talking to fellow coach and friend Rick Hellard here in Ottawa. And so a little bit about Rick's background, and I've just got it here. So you can find him at Zone3Sports.com. That's his website. And he's been into multi-sports and for about 30 years. So I guess before 2000 was long before 2000. That's when
1984.
1984. Well, I was in high school back in 84.
It was before high school for me.
Really?
Yeah, it was 14.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's just finish the intro. That's cool. Okay. Well, then maybe we were the same age.
Possibly.
Well,
Are
I'm
we
going
going to say that out loud?
later. I don't know how old I'm almost 50.
I'm well over that.
So you're 14, so 84. Well, okay, what, 54?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, not too bad. Still close, still close. So we met, I actually took his swimming course back when it was in Saint Laurent Complex when he was working with Ian Fraser. And that's also the time when I decided that triathlons weren't for me. But he has a thriving coaching program that's been going on for decades, as I mentioned. His mantra is keep it simple, healthy, make it, sport as part of your life, and get to the start. Make sure all his clients get to the start line healthy, rested, and ready to go. Plus, making sure they finish as fast as possible, which I think is pretty good. He is also, if you're local to here, you probably heard of his Hammer Time on Tuesdays, which I just found out it's now Wednesdays. So if you go onto the website, he's going to have to make a change today.
I'll fix that.
So
I'm also a website designer.
Maybe you can help me with it. You have to be into everything when you're a coach, right? Yeah. You have to put the programs together, make sure your website's all up to date and stuff like that. So, yeah. Rick, I'm so excited that we are talking because for me, with this cycling series or this interview series, I am so curious and to talk to a lot of the high level coaches, and we have a lot of them in the Ottawa area.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And I'm super excited to be talking to Rick. And as you can see, we're in his basement. This is where he works, and you have to see the size of the TV behind my phone. And I was asking him before here if he had a room full of trophies, and he said no.
No.
They're all in the box.
Yeah. We have a milk crate with the last couple of years worth, and the rest of it we gave away to a charity. Yeah,
and this is I found interesting because I didn't know about this charity. So just before we get into how we got into coaching, tell us about that charity because I think there are a lot of people who could probably help this charity.
Yeah, I'm not the most sentimental guy when it comes to trophies and so forth. So I kept them for an awful long time in the attic, and then found out about a charity called Medals for Metal.
We'll put the link in the comments below.
Yeah, and so what they do is they take old medals or medals that people don't necessarily want anymore, and they recycle them and give them to kids who are participating in sports. And rather than buying new medals for them, they get their old ones. So I gave away Boston, New York, Hawaii, bunch of overall victory ones as well. So they were pretty appreciative.
Wow, yeah. I bet. Can you imagine being a high school kid getting a Kona medal or a Hawaii Ironman medal? Just for participating, but
Yeah.
I mean these days a lot of the races give out medals for all participants, and I know a ton of people and who have walls of these participation type medals, and it's always one of those conversations like, what do you do with these? Well, donate them. Yeah. That's an amazing organization. Kudos to somebody who thought about that. Now let's get into what got you into coaching, and apparently it stems back to when you were 14. So tell me about that.
Well, the coaching part is 1998.
98.
So after I got back I raced on a pro team in Europe for 3 seasons. Then I came back and started working at Running Room for a little while. I was the area manager for Ottawa and Halifax. And
it's a big area.
A big area. But there was
Ottawa to Halifax.
2 stores here and only 1 in Halifax.
Oh, okay.
So
nothing in between.
So it sounds
that
big,
makes it easier.
Yeah.
We have to go to Montreal, Quebec City, Fredericton.
And I had a really good staff person in Halifax, so every time I went, it was more of a nice, relaxed weekend more than it was a working trip. But in 98 or 97, I guess, they announced the Lake Placid Ironman, and I had several people asking me for input.
Is that when it started?
Yeah, 98.
Really?
Was the first year. 98 or 99.
Wow.
And so I started helping people. They were asking ideas, and we had some pretty good success leading up to that. And then at one point, while I was at Running Room, I realized that there was not a lot of upward mobility available, but I saw an opening in the triathlon coaching market, especially with Lake Placid being so close, that I was, I'm not sure if smart enough or daring enough to take the jump, and I quit Running Room and I started in Zone3Sports.
Wow. So before you got into Running Room, what was your sport? Was it just running?
No, I was a
triathlete.
Yeah,
okay.
I started in junior high school as a runner for about 6 months. Realized that my legs were a lot better than my lungs, so I took up swimming, or I swam a lot harder. And then my lungs improved to the point where my legs couldn't keep up, so I took up cycling. And then Julie Moss crawled across the finish line in Hawaii, and everybody saw that, including my aunt who lives in Smith Falls. And Smith Falls was just about to start their triathlon. And so
that's the second one I did.
Was it?
In that murky water.
Yeah, and the weeds.
And the weeds and the foam.
You had to swim across the canal, and halfway through was weeds that were on the surface level.
Oh, I just remember the foam.
Yeah, it was quite a shock.
Yeah. I was just like, we had to go into that. My first one was Brockville.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
cold water.
I don't remember the cold water, but they took you out in a boat, and then they dropped you in the middle of St. Lawrence. It was only 750 meters, but they dropped you in where the current was so strong. It was like going in the opposite direction of the start line. So you get in the water, and like you're drifting away, and you have to like swim back until it starts. Do you ever do that?
I did.
Must have did
that. That's much later than the one that I had done. So the first couple of years of Brockville, you swam in the marina, and they kept you in the marina because the water, and it was in.
It must have been the marina
because they early June.
Boated you out and you dropped you there.
Yeah, we didn't.
And then you had to swim in, but it was still.
We didn't do that then, but the water was so cold; it was in the low 50s, and so the swim was supposed to be 500 or 750. And it never was because it was too cold. So they just kept shortening it every year.
Oh,
and
really?
then they pushed it back a little while so that it was a little bit more gentle. And then they did the boat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyways, I just remember that. And I was like, I was one of the last people out, mind you. But I was pretty good on the bike.
Last one in, last one out.
Last one in, last one out, and I passed a ton of people.
That's fun.
On the bike ride, and so that's where I just stuck myself. But yeah, so you started as a triathlon, then you got into Running Room, and then you saw the niche growing
Yeah.
in the late 90s, once Lake Placid started.
Yeah, and that was that went really, really, really well for many years.
Yeah.
And then Ironman started expanding and expanding. That they went out to more and more events, and so there became more and more coaches, which was great. And there at one point there was a critical mass, and now there's lots and lots of coaches out there and lots of good input. And
lots of races.
And lots of races to choose from.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many races. And
then with the coaching, you start bringing it, because Ironman training can be pretty boring and solo, lots of solo stuff. I'm a little bit more on the social side of things.
Yeah.
And so I started some training groups that were a little bit more focused, which is where the Hammer Time on the Tuesdays, basically a track workout. Yeah. Originally it started as a trainer and track. Yeah. So we'd bring our trainers to the track and do a bike run.
That's pretty smart.
It's smart, but really labor intensive. From a participant standpoint, you got to lug everything.
I
so
know.
From a simplicity standpoint, and people started realizing, you know what, I can just do a track workout, and that's good. So we started doing just a straight up run workout, and I had groups of 45 and 50 people for quite a while.
Yeah. I like those track workouts.
Yeah, they were fun.
Yeah. All right, so now here's a question. Like, you've had lots of athletes, you've had many years. Now, what would you say is your greatest athletic victory? Like, for yourself, and can you think of one client where it was just like the biggest success for yourself? Like, because I've known Rick, because I've seen Rick, so when I did one of, and we'll talk about events in a second, but Rick's done a lot of events. He's tried a lot of different sports within, like, like the winterlude and the snowshoeing and all these things. And I love that as a coach, he's gone and done stuff like that.
I think that's a really important aspect to it.
And I've always remember thinking, like, what? Like, he's a triathlon coach. What? What's going on?
I'm a fitness lifestyle coach. You have to.
Yeah, fitness. You should be. Yeah. So, what would be like your personal, like one of your personal victories?
I've had a lot of really good.
Does
memories.
one stand out in your mind?
Well, there's two that stand out.
Okay,
one is
two. We'll take two.
Kingston in 1988 was the first year I won it.
Was that a triathlon?
It was a triathlon, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of there's two sides to that. I won in 88. I had a really, really, really amazing day. It's just one of those, it was effortless and
everything came
your best
together.
days are always your effortless ones.
Yeah.
But I also won it again 16 years later. So that was a fantastic race. And then I won it again 16 years later, and then 2 years after that, and 2 years after that, and 2 years after that. So I won it 4 times. And if you put all of those together,
what distance is that?
It's a 2K swim, 56K ride,
so like
and a
Olympic?
15K ride. No, it's between Olympic and a half Ironman.
Okay.
So it's not too long that you need a lot of a lot of thought process into the fueling and nutrition stuff.
Right.
But it's long enough that if you get it wrong,
you get it wrong.
Yeah. If you get it wrong,
it doesn't end well.
In a 15K run, if you get it wrong, you probably get to 10 or 12 before you know it. And then it's not that long to go. But if you get it wrong in a half Ironman and you get to 10 or 12, it's still another 40 minutes to go. So it can be pretty uncomfortable. Yeah. So that would be one of my best events. The other one would be Montreal Esprit. Iron distance
like
race.
In the track?
On the race track.
Yeah, on the racetrack.
It is, they don't do it anymore. It was a full iron distance race. So it's 41 laps on the bike. On perfect pavement.
I know, you can't get better than stuff like that.
And the year that I did it, it was 2007 when I was 40. I was in really good shape, had a great season. And then I had a really bad day at Ironman Canada, and I finished about an hour and a half later than I should have.
Whoa,
so
that's
just an awful, awful day.
That's more than awful. What happened?
Cramps on they just seized up, but I don't quit very often, so I don't have too many DNFs.
And nor should you.
And my body just completely shut down, and I just.
Did you make it across the finish line?
Yeah, I was 10, 15 or something like that, but I should have been.
Everybody's like, where the hell?
Yeah, well, my wife was wondering because I had a fair number of clients pass me on the run, and
police are like, he's still out there.
They were reporting in.
He's still there.
He's still coming. He's still coming. So
I was like, I'm just here to support you guys.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Yeah,
Keep going. You totally switch it up.
Just giving you a target to come and chase.
That's right. I'm here. Keep going.
And then, so I figured, okay, that's it. I'm done with Ironman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was in such good shape and I had such a bad day. I just said,
so
that's
what?
it, I'm done.
So when you say a bad day, and this is like, I always talk about coaching, like it's not the day, it's like the whole week that led up to the day.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say in that instance that caused that to happen? Like that week, what did that week look like?
I haven't figured out Penticton yet. I've done it 3 times. And
Is that the race that it happened? Okay, Penticton.
Penticton Ironman. I did it 3 times, and I had bad days all 3 times.
Really? I think you just stopped. Never go back to.
Well, that's what I'm doing with Hawaii. I'm not going back. I've had 3 bad days. That's it. 3 strikes, and I'm out.
Well, maybe it's the travel.
No, it's the
weather.
With Hawaii, there was something else on the last day, on the last time I went around. But Penticton, maybe it's extra dry, and I'm not great at hydration.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what got me like a week's worth of progressively dehydrating.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really good at telling people what to do, but not necessarily listening.
The coach mentality.
So after that really bad day, I took 2 weeks of almost nothing.
Did it take you that long to get your body back? Because sometimes when you hit a wall like that, it takes a while.
The body wasn't too bad because I couldn't run, therefore you recover pretty quick. If I had been able to run maybe halfway and then fell apart, it might have taken a little bit longer. But I fell apart like before slightly on the bike.
Oh,
and so there
was
was no real run there.
That's
so you bounce back.
That's a marathon?
Faster. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So I took 2 weeks of licking my wounds, and then my wife said, "You got to get."
The ego, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Ego and just like what went wrong. I was in such good shape. And then I entered Montreal. It was only 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So 2 Ironman in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks. And I had the race of my life. I had fastest swim, fastest bike, fastest run, and it was effortless.
Totally rested.
I went 8:41, which at the time was probably top 3 in the world for a 40-year-old for iron distance race.
Wow.
It's an easy course, very super fast, but it's there.
Oh, you still have to do it.
You still have to do it. It's just as far as all the other ones. So that would be my other ultimate race. That's a long answer to it.
Cool. Yeah. Now, can you think of one client where they just had like the best success, beyond their, like probably their expectations? Can you think of one client that you worked with a lot and then they went out and they just exceeded their own? Or like a success story?
That's a tough one because they've rarely exceeded what I expected. They achieved what I expected.
Oh yeah.
When I assess somebody, I have a pretty good idea what they're capable of.
What they're gonna end up doing.
But the best performances by clients, I've had so many. But Len Ireland would be the biggest one.
Okay, what did he do?
He's been on the podium in Kona twice.
Wow.
And at
nice.
World 70.3 Championships as well. For a guy who doesn't like to swim very much. He's a
so
monster.
do you give him like the so he's a monster bike rider?
Monster bike and run.
Okay, so does he survive the swim and then he just kills it on?
He's 65 and he has won.
Is it? Did he win in his age category?
He did not win Kona this year. He didn't go this year, but he's been on the podium twice there, and no one from Ottawa has been on the podium twice before.
Wow.
There's only a few people that have actually been on the podium. Leslie Sanderson, and I helped get her there for that. And then Len,
Leslie, I know her.
yeah, Leslie and Len are pretty much the only people who've made the podium.
Wow.
So, but I did have 1 year, which I would say, you said one client, but there was a year where I had 12 clients go to Kona. And that was in 2007.
Did you go with them?
I did.
You did?
I did. It was pretty
Were you the
epic.
Sherpa?
I was the Sherpa. Ottawa actually had the highest number of qualifiers for Hawaii of any city in the
so
world.
where did they go to qualify?
All over. So Penticton,
Right.
Lake Placid, New York, and Maryland, I guess they could have went there.
Okay.
So they were kind of all over the place. But Ottawa had the highest number of any city in the world.
That's pretty,
And,
how'd you feel about that?
Oh,
like,
it's
as a
pretty-
coach,
it was pretty
you're
epic.
like, these are my clients, what can I do for you? Can I get you anything? Because, like, I had a
It
match.
was more, you're here because of me, so you owe me another beer.
I hope that was after.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go drinking Friday night before the race.
Yeah. So that was a pretty amazing year.
Yeah, I bet.
But if I had to pick a one client in particular, it'd be Len.
Len, cool.
He's won his age group at Penticton when it was the Ironman Penticton 2 or 3 times. He won all 5 of his age groups in Whistler, and now they've moved it back to back to Penticton. So he's got 7.
I heard that's a course. That's a tough course.
Penticton?
Yeah.
Well, it's the one that keeps killing me. So, so yes, I would definitely say it's the hardest course in the world.
It's hilly. Actually, I trained.
It's not as hilly as Whistler. Whistler's tougher.
Yeah. I did train a client to go to Penticton, and he didn't finish the bike, or he had a tough time because of it was the climate change on one of the hill climbs.
Okay, yeah.
He got, he basically froze to death at the top. I was like, I don't know how you prepare your client for that, besides they should know what they're dealing with.
No excuses. Get your ass out there.
That's right. I was just like, because I'm like, hey, how did it go? And he's like, well.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. So, yeah, anyways, but...
You got to train in everything.
You have to research your races, too.
Yeah.
You have to research. You have to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's part of the training for your races.
Yeah.
You have to know, if you can see the course ahead of time, which is usually on the...
It's easy now.
And you train for that.
Yeah.
Lots of hills. We train lots of hills and stuff like that. But, all right, so moving along. So Rick has been one of the integral, I guess, event coordinators in this area, too. Because, did you start Winterlude Triathlon?
No.
Okay.
It's 37 years old this year, and I've been I've been involved with it for 23 years.
Wow.
And organizing it for 18 or 19.
Okay, so that just happened last weekend. I saw all the pictures and everything.
Fun day.
So thankfully you had nice weather.
We did, yeah.
Because the Winterlude Triathlon here in Ottawa happens on the Rideau Canal. The Rideau Canal. Mm-hmm. So if it's not frozen and skatable, it turns to a run.
Or a ski and a run.
Or a ski and a run.
When I apply to the coordinators of Winterlude every year, I have at least 5
different
options that I have to submit, and they've gotten a little bit more litigious in the last last 2 years. So I actually have to have all the permits and reservations in place for 5 different versions of the race.
So when do you make the decision of which one you're going with? Like Wednesday?
The final decision would be Wednesday, but I can usually get rid of some of the options. And if we have snow or the canal's open, then you can get rid of some of them. This time around, we needed 2 or 3 new options because I never considered the canal would be partly open. It was either
you don't get
it's
the
gonna
whole
be
course.
open or it was not going to be open.
Oh.
Those were my initial thoughts. This time
Right.
around, it was like it's partly open.
So where'd you have to exit?
Well, we came up with a new format where we actually did loops on Dow's Lake. So we did a 2.5K loop
Okay.
on Dow's Lake and down to Hartwell Locks and back. We've never done loops because with 200 or 300 people, that can get pretty messy. But the loop was long enough, and there was 220 people in the race.
So spread out enough.
They were spread out enough, and the people. The amazing thing about this race is in all the versions that we've had, because in 19 years there's probably been 10 or 12 different versions of it, if not more than that. It's the same guys up front. I know who they are, and so
Because I like the Winterlude Triathlon.
yes. So I take them off to the side, and I say, I explain the
Because everybody's going to be following them,
Yeah.
basically.
the first guys need to know where to go. Everyone else can follow the first guys. So I know who they're going to be every year. So I go over and I talk to them and say, guys, you got to go around here. This is it, and so once
Don't be splitting off.
yeah. So once they know, it's all good. And so this time around, it was the same sort of format, and the etiquette of passing, lapping people. You can't expect people going half your speed to be looking over their shoulder the whole time on the skates.
So you trust a lot of people doing their laps. They're not cutting it short.
There's only 3 laps, so if they can't, if they can't count to 3, I don't want.
That's pretty easy. 5 would be a
race,
problem.
Yeah.
Be like, am I at 4? Where am I?
I don't want them in my race if they can't count to 3.
Yeah. Prerequisite. Yeah. So you've also done. So one of the first races that I came across was when you did that. The one in the park at Carmen.
The Winter Adventure Race.
The Winter Adventure Race.
Yes,
And that's
lots of fun.
That was a lot of fun. So we stayed. There used to be like a youth or a hostel in the Gatineau Park, and it was on Carmen Road, and that's where we stayed overnight. We breakfast, and then we got started the next day. And I did that one, and it was like snowshoe. Did we have bike in there? I don't think we had bike in there.
No. And you had to carry. There was several sections of each. There were probably 2 of each. And you had to carry all your equipment. So you had to snowshoe with your skis on your back and ski with your snowshoes and running stuff on your back. And
figure it out.
You didn't get a map. You got the map at the beginning. You got another map halfway.
Yeah.
So you had to get to. That was our way of checking in on people. And
yeah,
it was
that was
a lot
fun.
of fun. They were a lot of fun.
I don't think it lasted long though.
5 years.
Did you do 5 years?
5 years, but there was always one team. A different
There's
team.
There's always one
team. Yeah, there
that
was a
gets
different
lost.
team every year. That was just so off the rails that it got very frustrating to organize.
Yeah.
So we stopped.
You're like, how do you get lost?
Well,
it's on trail.
It was like they were an hour and a half behind the next, the second last team, and the other teams are all in an hour, and then these guys are an hour and a half behind. But it was a different team every year, so I didn't know. I would have told, if it was the same people, I would have said, no, you can't come back. But it was a different team
You're
every
too slow.
year. Yeah. It was a different team every year, so I was like, oh, gee.
I think, it's the team dynamics because there's 4 people on an adventure race team. Yeah. So you're only traveling as fast as your slowest person.
Yeah.
And if you chose wrong...
yes.
And it's harder in the cold.
Or something goes wrong.
Yeah. That's another thing.
Broken equipment.
Yeah.
You never know.
Crappy weather, whatever. But I just remember that one was a good one. And because I used to do a lot of adventure racing.
They were a lot of fun to try and find the routes to actually organize.
Yeah.
I know Gatineau Park because of that race. And especially the north end. A lot of people don't get up that way. But
well, that's where there's the longest, I think probably the less traveled routes is down like Wakefield and Masham. Yeah. That area when you go into the park from there.
It's a beautiful area.
So those are your events. So we were talking about Hammer Time, which is Rick's signature event or winter training program in the area. And so how did that start? Because like you said, everything's social, and of course when we train we like to bring in the social because
Absolutely.
it's so crucial, I find.
Those long Sunday mornings alone are not for everybody.
Yeah.
But riding in a group or or training as a group,
It makes a difference.
Makes it a lot easier. That came into play at the Hammer Time Long Course is what it was called. And so what we would do is a long ride and a long run. They were progressively longer ride, progressively longer runs, back to back. And I started that with Ian Fraser a long time ago at Sportable and Full Cycle.
That's right. And then that's where I started spinning, like in 1999, 2000, at Sportables.
Yeah, be around then.
Yeah. And
they were the first people to bring indoor cycling, spinning and stuff into the Ottawa area. So Ian and I had something going at two different stores, and then eventually Ian left Zone 3 and bought Psychologic. He bought Sportable and it became Psychologic.
Oh, right. I didn't realize it went that way.
And I kept it. I kept the Hammer Time thing going.
Yeah.
And I only had one group. It was like 25 people in the bunch, but the demand was greater and greater all the time. So it was, which was marvelous. 25 people doing a hard ride and a run together. Yeah. Lots of fun. But the demand was getting bigger and bigger. So what I ended up doing was getting another instructor. And we would do one group rides while the other's running, and then the other's running while the other group's riding.
So you could double the numbers?
Double the numbers. We had 45 people in the bunch, half of them on the bike, and they would do equal time. So if it was a 2-hour ride, it was a 2-hour run. Yeah. And then they'd come in and flip. Yeah. Made for some really epic days in the wintertime. Yeah.
That's really nice because I have a 16-week road cycling program, and I remember doing something like that. I'm like, let's duplicate what Rick's doing. Because I was at the time training, well, not me, like I was giving the cycling program for a lot of triathletes, and they, and it was the same deal. On the weekends is your long, slow distance ride or run, and how do you get it all in? And but mine didn't last as long as Rick's. Yeah, my cycling's still there, but not.
We got about 20 years out of it. 18 to 20 years. In the last 3 or 4 years, the numbers started to drop off just as Zwift came onto the scene.
Zwift.
Yeah. Now I get my Sunday mornings back.
Yeah, but that was like, now I get to sleep in and train at my own pace. You know what? As a coach who has been training and doing stuff for years, it's so appreciated. You have no idea. You're just the athlete coming in, getting your training in, but you don't realize how long that coach has been around for clients, like, and then it's like, no, it's my time. Sorry. No more program. Bye. I'm going to start winding myself down. And do you find that that's kind of how you, how do you felt?
In the early stages of Hammer Time, actually most of the run stuff, I was still trying to be a competitive athlete as well.
I have a question about that. Keep going.
So, and I was fast enough that I could run with anybody or I could ride with anybody, and that was okay. And I didn't mind going a little bit less quick every now and then. That was fine. But I was also able to. I had fast enough people that I could go as hard as I wanted. And not be too far off the front and get in a good workout. And then I had some health issues, and I got slower and slower and slower, and people thought that I was being nicer and nicer and nicer because I was moving back through the group. I wasn't running with the front of the bunch, I was running with the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then I was at the back. And it was because I didn't know it, but I was having some health issues. And they thought I was being nice. It's like, no, if I could be...
You're like, no, I'm like dying right now.
If I could be up there, I would be. But, and that changed my perspective on a lot of it, because I was able to run with the back of the bunch and see what's going on back there. It's quite a different world. It's a different world at the front of the bunch. Everybody knows what they're doing, and they work hard. and then you get to the back or in the middle somewhere, and they have a little bit more fun. They laugh, they giggle,
They're the ones who are like, no,
yeah, they take a bit more time on the recovery. They're not quite as rigid with some stuff, and so it's really neat to be back there as well.
Yeah.
And now that my health issues have resolved themselves, I'm finding my way back up.
Yeah. Did you find, because when I looked at you and I heard about your the health issue that you had, I was like, wow. Because we always look at coaches as being the strong, balanced, healthy, like you said, you're always at the front, and you like to be there because that's where I guess when they look at coaches who are still really physically fit, and engaging, that you should be at the front, and you're like, well, what's going on now that
with us? I mean, we are coaches who still do and train with our clients, yourself included.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coaches in different sports who don't get it. I mean, swim coaches aren't in the water with the swimmers.
Yeah.
Football coaches aren't on the field with it. They're not out there. We as athletes and still as coaches who practice what we preach.
Right.
Adds a lot of credibility, I think.
I like to think so because, for me, I think it's important to be a good role model for the people that I'm coaching. Mm-hmm. To be healthy, to be fit, to be not standing on the sidelines all the time, and not being part. Do you feel that way yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, when I was having my health issues, I stood on the side an awful lot, and I felt wrong not being out not being out in the group.
Yeah.
We're running around a track, so I would see them, and I sort of passed it off as, well, now I get to watch everybody, but I get to watch everybody when I'm running too.
Yeah.
And I would have much preferred being up there, expecting people to run when it's 30 degrees out.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there with a bottle of water in my hand.
And your umbrella.
Exactly.
Keep going, guys.
Yeah.
You're looking good.
They get a different sense of motivation when the coach is out there doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You run by people and they're not even breathing hard, and they're supposed to be breathing hard.
You're like, I don't think you're working hard.
Yeah, and then they hear you and they see how hard you're working.
Yeah.
They try a little bit more.
Yeah, but I like what you said when you were forced to be riding or running mid-pack to the back of the pack, that you actually saw what was going on.
Mm-hmm. It's quite different.
It is quite different because for me, we have 4 different levels in our cycling group. So beginner, novice, intermediate, advanced, and I'm usually with the advanced people. Mm-hmm. Because I think, like I said, as coaches, we just want to be up at the front and see what's going on, make sure everything. But rarely do we go back to the beginners. And maybe I'll do that a little bit more this year. Yeah. Because we have to appreciate where we came from. And we were one of those at one point. When you were 14, maybe 13?
I won my first race, so...
Okay, well, I'll say back when I was 30, when I started cycling, when I thought that 20 kilometers was super fast.
And far.
And far.
Yeah.
No, it's not 20 kilometers, so 20 RPM. 20 kilometers an hour. So I was spinning, riding. Not the distance. I was just going that fast.
That's huge.
That was huge back then.
Especially uphill.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm super fast. And then I'm like, not so fast. But anyway. Yeah. All right, so we just talked a little bit about your health scare. Mm-hmm. What after that? How did that come? Like you said, you noticed things were happening. How did that kind of come along, and when did it hit you? And then what kind of changes did you make? What kind of realization was it like? That must have been hard.
Yeah, not... I mean, it's weird because I still probably don't realize how dangerous it was.
Yeah. Dangerously close to like.
Yeah, like what I have is called an AV block. It's a heart block. So the electrical impulse isn't going from the atria to the ventricle.
Now, does that come up? Does that happen all of a sudden, or is it something you're?
It's a slow.
It's a slow
process.
increase.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's first, second, and third degree, and fourth degree means you're dead. So I ended up
obviously
with, I had third
degree.
Yeah. And I knew that I had first degree, and then a couple of years later, because I was assessed it, and we
You're
were
like,
able
yeah.
we lots of high-end athletes have first degree. It's
okay.
It skips a beat every now and then, but once you get going, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
It skips half a beat really, because the atria beats and the ventricle doesn't. They're supposed to be a 1-to-1, and it misses every now and then. A lot of high-end athletes have that, and you have a very low heart rate,
okay.
Or a low heart rate.
Oh, you're like, awesome! I can work really hard and still be beating at 90.
Yes,
exactly. Like, this is awesome.
And then I had some problems, and things didn't get any better. And I was assessed again, and then they said it's a second degree now. And
you're like, Rick, it's second degree.
Yeah.
You might want to.
There's one more degree.
You might want to start.
Yeah. So we figured out some workarounds to that as well.
Workarounds. What's that mean?
Warm up a little better, and don't heart drop. So in the middle of a workout, if I would have problems, my recovery needed to be less of a recovery.
Oh, okay.
So don't let my heart rate drop down to 60. During the recovery, I had to keep it in the 90 range.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I had to keep moving, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, I had several really, really difficult races on the great swim bike. That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
I had really good swim bike, and then the run is the most demanding of the three sports. That's where it would sort of kick in, and my heart rate would drop and not be able to go very high. And when you're trying to race at 85% and your heart will only go to 65, you need all that. You need the oxygen, you need the blood, and it's not there. So you just have to sort of suck it up and.
You feel super dizzy?
You feel dizzy, you feel weak. It's like you're holding your breath at the top of some stairs.
Yeah.
And you just can't do anything. You can't really go. So I had a couple really good 2/3 of a race. And I was, unfortunately, that last third. So
the last 40 kilometers.
I was still able to qualify for Hawaii. In one of my worst days, and so I took the spot. Been
so bad.
Yeah,
like I worked through it.
Yes,
qualified.
And then I got to Kona, and I had a stunning swim and bike, and I had absolutely nothing on the run, like absolutely nothing. So it was just another really, really bad, disappointing day, and I sort of let that slide. I thought, okay. Maybe I blew my load on the bike, but I didn't think I did, and I thought I'd done everything right, and there was just nothing there. My heart was like 75 to 80 for most of the run, and you can't run at that level. I trained over the winter, and my.
Did you go to the medical tent after you finished that race?
No, I went home and drank a lot.
Well, that'll solve everything. That was a shitty race. Oh my god.
Win or lose, hit the booze, I think is the phrase, right?
Oh, I like win or lose, hit the booze.
Yeah.
Is that your motto?
No. It's another friend of mine's motto. So I survived. And then over the winter training, my power numbers on the bike got worse, and my heart rate got lower, and I couldn't really do much.
Okay, something's really
went to Tucson, Arizona. I trained really well there.
You're like, it must be the heat.
Yeah.
I have to move now. I have to move south.
Yeah.
There's one big reason.
And then I did the Clarence Rockland bike race.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, I did a 5K running race on Saturday, and then the Clarence Rockland bike race on Sunday.
That one will kill you anyways.
And
regardless.
the 5K running race, I ran slower than I ever thought I would.
So you figured it might be a good idea to do a bike race the next
day. I'll try again the next day.
That's not an easy ride either.
Wouldn't go very high. I couldn't get my heart rate up. So.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I figured, okay, that's wrong. And then the next day at Clarence Rockland, I blew really, really badly, and my heart rate was 102, I think, for the whole ride. And then 3 days later, I went into the doctor, and that afternoon, or the next morning, she says, I just finished a run, getting ready to go for a bike ride, and she said, get yourself to the Heart Institute. And ASAP. And I went in and found out that I wasn't leaving for a little while, and they needed to
How long did you spend there?
I spent 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so my AV block turned into third degree. I had graduated to third degree.
You graduated. Good for you.
And the lady at the counter, when it's heart problems, they blow you through pretty quick. You go through all. Yeah, you go through the line pretty fast. And they were expecting me, and she says, "Wow, most people with what you have don't come in walking. They usually come in an ambulance." And I'm like, "Well, here I am." So I was there.
That's why I'm healthy.
And
at least I walk in.
Yes. For better for worse, it was Easter weekend. Mm-hmm. It was a Thursday actually, and they weren't doing any kind of testing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I spent.
So you got to relax.
I spent a couple days there in intensive in ICU for no reason, because they couldn't do they weren't doing the tests.
Beds.
They didn't, and they eventually realized that I was pretty stable. So they moved me over into the Heart Institute recovery area, or waiting to get worked on area. Mm-hmm. And there I was, world class athlete, and everyone else is 20 or 30 years older than I am, and they've got
50 pounds.
They've got zippers down because they've had quadruple bypasses and everything else. So I stood out a little bit. And,
yeah.
But eventually they were able to get me in and install a pacemaker. So I'm battery powered, and that was.
Does that scare you?
Not at all. It scared me not having it.
Yeah.
With all the issues. It's a fix, and I'm probably 95 to 98% of what I should be.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So it's.
You wouldn't be alive, Rick.
I might not be. Yeah, might not be. I certainly wouldn't be living the lifestyle that I am right now.
Yeah.
And so they gave me back my lifestyle, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, I find it so scary when you hear of top athletes like yourself, and there's been a couple others in the region that have had like really scary health issues. Mm-hmm. When you expect them to be so healthy, and they're usually like leaders, like top achievers like yourself.
Mine's on the other end of the spectrum. The other guy, everyone else that I know, they have AFib, so their heart rate goes through the roof.
Oh,
mine was the other way.
I can't imagine
I was driving
gonna...
around the city at a heart rate of 28 to 30. I would ride around Gatineau Park and be at 110 at the top of pinks or blacks rather, and I'd be 35 by the time I hit the bottom.
What?
And then so the heart rate was dropping a long way, and they're not very good beat.
You didn't think that was like maybe unusual?
A little, yeah.
After a while, you're like.
Yeah. And then if you're riding with a group of guys that are being aggressive.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to say, hey, let's stop, because I think
I need to rest.
I might have to,
I need to rest, so.
I know, pure pressure gets the best of us.
Yeah, and I'm not,
I'm like,
big ego, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Famous last words.
I was wrong.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
So now I'm good.
So now this leads up into the last little bit of our interview with Rick, and what's the retirement plan? Because as you know, coaches can coach forever, but he was telling me he's got something that he's put together, and
yes,
because we're never going to give up what we love to do, because it's part of our DNA. But how do you change things where you don't have to be working as much? Or maybe that's a
I
different,
went-
like,
yeah,
did
I
you
went
start working
backwards.
more?
I went backwards.
No.
Yeah, I'm working more, yeah.
Well, look, he's pretty chilled today because I was like, what's your Tuesday look like? He's like, well, I got swimming in the morning and then, like, I'm free all day. And I think, oh no, he doesn't have hammer time tonight. It's tomorrow night. So,
That's right.
so then he's really, like, relaxed, maybe
Yeah,
to watch
life.
some
Yeah, now it's
TV, do a puzzle.
my retirement plan. I'm not too sure. My wife retires in 363 days from now, so
Does she have the plan for you guys?
she has a plan for her.
Oh,
But
does it include you?
a little bit, yeah.
Us women, eh?
Yes, I have
Okay,
to.
this is what I'm doing. If you want to come
I
along,
have to take the garbage out, make sure the house is clean.
stop.
I took over a part of my business is a swim club. I've had the swim group that you were in, and a couple of years ago I expanded and I have a group in the East End as well. And I have Sharon Donnelly.
Oh,
coaching
she sounds
for me
familiar,
there.
yeah?
She went through the Olympics in triathlon, and she was
Okay.
one of the best Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Pan Am Game gold medalist
Wow.
in triathlon Olympics.
So she's your lead coach
She's
in
my
the
lead
East
coach in
End?
the East End.
And where is it out of?
It is out of the splash pool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like that place.
Yeah,
I didn't realize they had swimming there.
Yeah.
I go there for the hot tub.
Early morning, yeah, and the wave
And the wave pool
and the wave pool
for the kids.
and then 2 years ago, because I am still training, and it's difficult for me to get in the water when I'm the coach.
Right.
So I joined a swim club called Rock Swimming 5 years ago, and I heard a rumor that the owners of the club, it's a private swim club, I heard a rumor that they were looking to retire themselves, and in the middle of one of my 5-second recoveries between hundreds.
I'm interested. Can we
pretty
talk
much-
coffee after?
Pretty much.
Talk
pretty
business
much,
over
yeah.
coffee?
It was very short 5-second conversations for
Yeah.
10 by 100, and by the end of that conversation we'd set up a meeting, and I took out, and it worked out, and I took over the swim club, so now I have
Where's that out of?
That's out of Carleton University.
Oh, okay.
So I have two, and now I've combined Zone 3 Swim Group and Rock Swimming. So there's 270 swimmers.
Wow.
95 adults in that bunch, and 165 kids.
That's so
From 6
awesome.
years old all the way up to 18.
Okay, so those kids, are they part of like a tri group?
No, they're triathlon. They're swimmers.
They're just
It's a
swimmers.
swim club. Yeah. So
Okay.
I had to learn 2 years ago. I had to learn the intricacies of the swim world, which is very, very different. Because I was not a swimmer. I knew how to swim.
Yeah.
A triathlete, but I didn't need flip turns. I didn't need alternate strokes. I didn't.
Right.
And the swim world has been around for a long time. It's
Yes.
highly regulated, whereas the triathlon world is a lot more free flowing.
Yes, of course. You just have to swim. You have to make it from start to finish, and
Yeah, and so standards and regulations are really strict in swimming.
so does that go into the coaching part?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're a coach on deck for that group, right?
I am and I'm not. I'm there. I have merged everything into all my coaching programs into Rock Swimming,
Okay.
and Zone 3 just does events.
Oh,
So they're
okay.
separate.
So like the Winterlude.
Winterlude is
What else is-
Zone 3. Our Cyclosportif Perth.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
Ride in Perth. And I had a few other events that did not run last year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones was a 5K running race for the federal government.
Maybe you can help me.
Maybe.
Because I have a time trial race.
I know.
I know. I know he knows. But for me, I'm looking at how to get more triathletes to participate.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, because participation in an FQSC sanctioned race is different than a triathlon, and your bikes have to be a certain. So that's why triathletes stay away from like official road racing time trials, because of the bike regulations.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of like doing a different category. So maybe
No holds barred.
the whole bar. Just bring it on, because it's about getting more participations in in events locally, as I'm sure you are try and get the participation rate up every year. Yeah.
Marketing is not my forte by any stretch of it.
Oh,
I put on really nice, clean, simple events, but marketing is not one of my strong points.
Maybe we can collab on that.
Yeah.
So we're almost at the top of the hour. Now, I think I've gotten everything out. I'm gonna have to pan. So you just have some pictures here. Do you have anything like?
No.
I was like, "Where's the trophy?"
I can get them.
Are they right there?
I have a box of
Are they like really accessible?
reasonably.
Okay, you go get them. I'm gonna pan on some of the pictures that Rick has here, and then we're going to finish up. And all right. Oh, jeez. So let's just bring this over here, and we're just gonna. I'm gonna see if you can pan into some of these pictures while Rick gets some trophies, the ones that he decided to keep. And I like this one here. This one's a pretty good one there of Rick. And younger years, no doubt. Him and his wife. And then, hold on. I think we can maybe reach over here. All right, this is where all the magic happens. Look at the bikes. We were just discussing how Swift is taken over in the house. Oh my gosh, can I come in here? Okay, you guys have to see this. I just saw like a whole stat of like. Okay. Oh, I thought I saw wetsuits and everything. But they're
behind the door.
They are. Of course they are. Where? Oh, here. Okay, so this is all Rick's web. You see them? You got quite a few. Mm-hmm. The shorty, the long sleeve, and then, most guys, of course, have a closet full of kits and heart rate monitors and stuff like that. Oh yes, for the ski.
Speed sharpening.
I've got to get into this for downhill skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Velofix.
Or what?
Velofix does ski waxing too.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Good to know. All right, we've lost a little bit of pictures over here. 2004 Lake Placid. You see that, guys? All right. Oh, geez. Okay. So we got a couple minutes here. Rick pulled out all the stops. These are the faves that he didn't let go of.
There's a lot of these, because a lot of events now give, no matter what you do, and some of these are Nancy's as well.
Oh, okay.
So she's done the ski marathon.
Oh, what's this?
Got her gold Eagle Men.
Male overall, 3rd place. Needs a little dusting.
Fingerprints in the way. Yeah, so there's all of these.
Wow. Everybody's got, I have a little, so the only ones that I have are like, because I only do road races, so I just have all my podium stuff. Not a whole lot of them. Boy, did I work hard for some of them. That's nice.
Kingston.
Oh, is this the...
So with all the, I have the 4 first, but I also have 5 seconds and
what?
6 thirds and a couple other. These are all just pretty.
Oh, you know what? These are nice. You should put them up on the wall.
No, that's okay.
No, that really. So then how come you hold on to... Well, you can't really give these ones away.
Yeah. They're not really the same to give away, but Ray the North.
I have a couple Ray the North ones. Tremblant, 2001. Hey, I didn't race that one, but I was a support crew for this.
I got it. So was I.
Oh, were you?
We didn't actually do the race. Support crew.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a nice trophy.
Thanks again.
Adventure racing, guys. Ooh, that's a pretty one. Hold on, I gotta put some of these down. Wow, that must have taken a lot of work. That's all. You know, these ones are nice ones to put up when they're actually like finished, not like just a plaque. Even this event, the Ray the North one, that's pretty nice. Kingston, all this is all his, like, I won it 10 years in a row. So were these hanging up at some point?
No.
Oh.
Some of them might have.
Was that before you met Nancy? It's
Yeah.
just your place, you know, the all over the place.
No, I've
This
never-
is my wall.
I have there's a couple situations in my life that have stopped me from being enthralled with
With yourself?
with myself.
You're not a narcissist? Come on.
One of my teachers way back in elementary school asked me not to sing the national anthem with everybody else because I was such a bad singer, and that's stuck with me forever.
What?
And my family
How can he say that?
my family accused me or said that I was
It was that.
a little full of myself.
Well, you know
At one point
what?
in my
When
life,
you're like out there really kicking ass, I mean, like seriously, you do have to. Oh, I like that. That's pretty. That's kind of cool. It's almost like a bookend, but not. Oh, you could use it. You could like.
That was Nancy. Nancy's also very.
Very accomplished.
Oh, that's nice.
Around the bay. Oh, female. His partner. More ums. Oh, let's see. Oh, gotta put this in a
Course record.
course record. When was this? 2010.
One course athlete of the year. Ooh.
Jeez, hello. Look at all these accolades, guys.
The Rudy Award.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Nancy
If
Handel.
anybody's listening to... Look at the dust on this. Oh, when did they... He's so young looking.
Yes, he is.
Oh, this is 2001. That's why. It's like 20 years ago. So the Rudy Award is local. Oh, this is Nancy. Okay, this is both of yours. And what do you have to... You have to do a series of events locally. Oh, here. Okay. So you have to participate and finish in the Winterlude Triathlon. So it's like... Rick's like, make sure you put that in there. The Cascanata 50. I guess it has to be the 50. The Rideau Lake Bike Tour. Oh, I can do that. A marathon and a half iron triathlon. No, sorry, a full iron triathlon. You have to do all of these in 1 year in order to get this trophy. And there's always been like, and he does every fall like a big Rudy Awards plus silent auction, and he gives out these awards. I don't think they look like this now. Like this is 20 years ago.
No, he looks a little older.
But he just does it gives out like a plaque still like this?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's quite an accomplishment. People make that their year's goal. I mean, you know, you have to ski. I think that's where I kind of like so I'm not
And
gonna do
swim.
this. And well, you know what? I could swim as long as I can, you know, kill it on the bike and survive. But anyways,
back in the day before there were so many Ironman, you had to enter a year ahead of time.
oh yeah,
So you had to know you were going after this just because.
right.
You couldn't enter just any time. It's a little bit
Now
easier.
you're like,
It's a little bit
I'll
easier
do
now,
the
yeah.
one in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's a
I'll
little bit
go
easier
to
now
Toronto.
because there's a bit more time.
So, yeah, and all these. Yeah, I think people make blankets out of these. Or they do something, or a pillow. can sew them together. But anyways, so just want to say thank Rick for
Thank you.
this has been amazing, and I hope you guys learned a lot, and it's just absolutely phenomenal for me to bring in athletes like this and to interview them, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please don't forget to share and subscribe. There's going to be more of these happening on a weekly basis, and I don't want you to miss a thing. So make sure you put on your notifications, because this will be on YouTube after it's live here, and I'm hoping it'll go on Spotify as a podcast. So take care, guys, and have an amazing week. And don't forget to book in your training. If you want to compete in a triathlon or an Ironman, look up Rick.
Give me a call.
His information is in the details above. Take care, guys. Have an amazing day.